Hey everybody, welcome to Marvel Champions Monthly, a fan podcast about the card game Marvel Champions, designed by Caleb Grace and Michael Boggs at Fantasy Flight Games. I'm one of your hosts, Kennedy Hawk, and I have all four co-hosts with me here today. So we have Amerikano. How's it going, Amerikano?
So good. I'm so happy to be here. I had a couple trials this week, so I'm just ready to talk about some Marvel Champions.
You're ready to talk about something you enjoy. That's good.
Yeah, exactly.
We have Crimson. How's it going?
Going good, going good.
And for the second episode in a row, we have Shane. How's it going, Attercop?
It's good. They say the second episode is the most important one.
Yeah, second is the best. That's what my 5-year-old would say.
Yep.
And we'll talk about the second campaign box today. So we'll see. Do we think it's the best? I don't know. Spoilers. So today we're going to do our third episode talking about Galaxy's Most Wanted. If you were sick hearing about Galaxy's Most Wanted, you should turn this off now and then come back next time when we talk about not Galaxy's Most Wanted. But for today, if you haven't played against Nebula or the finale Ronan yet, you're going to want to tune out, go play against those villains, maybe cry a little bit, come back and listen to the rest of this episode to find out what we think about Ronan and Nebula. So your spoilers have been warned. And we're going to jump right in to Nebula. So, Attercop, why don't you give us the overview of Nebula? Who is she? What's her scenario all about? How's it work?
Okay. Well, Nebula is the cybernetic daughter of Thanos. Pretty straightforward. She's real good at fighting. She's real good at doing the things that she needs to do. And the encounter, the whole scenario shows that quite a bit. She adapts the way that she fights. It changes from turn to turn. Makes it kind of unpredictable. Thanks to a lot of the boost star icons, even like the best plans can get foiled pretty quickly against her as she like adapts. Let's see.
What's her hook in the game? Because she
Her
adapts well, right?
Right. Her hook is the technique attachments. So she has a handful of techniques. I think eight of them, and when they're attached to her, they give her a bonus. And then when she activates, and it's distinctly when she activates, right? So even if she's confused or stunned, is that correct?
That's a good question. I think when she's stunned, it skips the activation.
That's how I've been playing her.
That's how I've been doing it. I've been cheating, maybe.
Okay. I've been playing that even if she is stunned, she still triggers. Because the activation starts, but the attack doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so
Maybe.
even if she is stunned, I assume it's to represent her being like partially robotic. Just trying to justify the bad things happening.
Wow,
But-
you just made Nebula even harder.
That's how I've been playing it. It resolves all the specials on her techniques and discards them all, and she rebuilds them. I think the most that I've seen attached to her at one time in 2-player was 3, and that was pretty rough. So her the art of evasion is her first main scheme. With the recommended, obviously her own set, the single card Power Stone, Ship Command Standard, and Space Pirates is recommended. Honestly, like the recommended module is pretty brutal. So if you're having trouble with Nebula, I'd recommend trying something different besides Space Pirates. But let's see. So the main besides the technique, she messes with evasion counters on her environment, Nebula's ship. At the beginning of the villain phase, place one evasion counter here. The players then have an option. The first player, I should say, has an option to start removing the evasion counters, and the evasion counters determine how much threat is placed on the main scheme each turn. So if you ignore it, it grows exponentially to the point of, especially in 2-player. The first turn is just 2, no big deal. Then it's 4, then so on and so forth. So you really have to be devoting your Milano actions and your cards or resources to the shoot the thrusters mechanic. Besides that, the main schemes themselves don't do a whole lot of extra stuff. When you get to 2A, it adds 2 evasion counters and then checks the number. and each deck loses the top 2 cards for each evasion counter. So a lot of times you'll get an accelerator, a lot of times you'll get an encounter card. So getting to 2A, obviously you don't want it to happen, but you double don't want it to happen. Although mechanically 1B and 2B don't change very significantly. Let's see here.
Yeah, so I think she's pretty cool. She's kind of got 2 hooks, like you said. She's got this technique ability, so all the techniques have a boost that attach to her if they come out as a boost card. She gets one, I think, to start the game, and she has other cards that will pull them out, and all of them are revealed when pulled out, usually.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Anything that discards them says reveal them. So the side scheme lethal intent. The last line is reveal that card. And the last time we were playing it, we discarded the cards, attached it, and we thought we were safe, and got to the last sentence.
and it's just brutal, right? So she gets all those attachments, and that's like one really cool thing, right? She's this robot that's adapting to you as you're fighting, but there's also space combat going on, right? That was my favorite thing about Drang. So there's a different type of space combat. Her ship never like directly attacks you, but it places threat because I think she's trying to like escape with the Power Stone. So we're chasing her down, and if she is ignored for too long, she's gonna go to hyperspace with Chewie, and will be Power Stoneless.
Whoa, what's happening?
What?
You're crossing streams.
I'm crossing the streams. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found it pretty fascinating. The thing that I like about it a lot is a lot of times it's hard to have a scenario that has like 2 identities, right? If it tries to do 2 things at once, it struggles because it really focuses on one and serves it really well, but struggles at the second one. But I feel constant pressure from the techniques and constant pressure from the space battle, which maybe isn't something that I enjoy feeling all the time, but it's at least like properly balanced. I feel like I'm seeing both sides of the scenario every time I play. It's not like I shuffle it one time and I'm doing all spaceship stuff, and I shuffle it another time and I'm doing all technique stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. She's definitely got some nasty techniques. I think you said there's 8 of them.
Yeah, there's 8 of them, and they all are pretty significant. 2 of them, Cutthroat Ambition, prevents her from taking more than 5 damage in a single attack. When it resolves, it adds a threat to the main scheme, which the special on that one, that's pretty low impact most of the time. 2 of them grant Stalwart, but they're different: Evasive Maneuvering and Unyielding Persistence. And then they resolve differently on their specials. Maneuvering stuns you when it resolves, and if you're already stunned, she gets a boost. The other one gives her a tough status, and then she gets a face-on boost if she's already tough, which is pretty rough too. 2 copies of Weapon Mastery that gives Nebula Retaliate 1. The special is to take 1 damage. And the one that I really don't like seeing is Wide Stance.
That's my least favorite.
Absolutely. Reduces the amount of damage she takes from each attack by 1. The special is discard a card at random from your hand. So either way, if it's in play, it's rough. If it's resolving as a special, it can really debilitate your turn. The good news is it says from each attack. So like your army of ants still get in for their 1. Your speaking of Ant-Man, you're flipping to giant, 1 deals the damage. So that's good, and that's a good distinction to have, is that she's not immune to single packets of damage from non-attack sources.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned in standard, in her first form, right? She's got 14 hit points per player, and when she initiates an activation against you, you resolve the special on each card, and then discard each of those attachments. But in stage 2, you only discard 1 of those attachments, so you're going to have to choose which attachment to discard. And I think I agree with you. It's always Wide Stance for me. Just I don't want to have to discard those cards from the special ability.
Yeah. It's in phase 2. It's pretty brutal because a bad combination of attachments, and you're going to be behind for a very long time.
Yep, and then I think in stage 3 you have to like mill a card from your deck to discard that 1 attachment. So she's just really, really oppressive in stage 3.
She pirates you for a card.
It's not. Yeah, it's not just milling though. It's removing it from the game, right?
Yeah, it's gone for good, right?
Yep, that's out. I lost strength in one game, and then an army of ants in the next one, or in one turn, I should say, and then an army of ants the next turn.
It does
That
come
was
back in the
tough.
next scenario if you happen to win. So it's not as bad as the collector stealing your things and then not letting you have them back.
And holding it for 2 scenarios.
Yeah. I found that, like you said, the modular set was actually really hard. The Space Pirates, I think it's called.
Mhm.
There's 5 minions. One of them is after this minion attacks and damages you, remove a random card from your hand from the game. The other 3 or 4 are after this minion attacks and damages you, you remove the top card of your deck from the game. So they are just destroying your deck left and right. And of
Not
course,
only that.
there's those
Oh,
awesome treacheries that just fish them out. So it's horrible.
yeah, the treacheries are the really, really hard part. It goes and finds one. It comes into play. It quick strikes you, steals a card, gets a tough token, and then she gets a boost.
Yeah.
That's
All the bad things.
that's a lot of text, and none of it is an upside.
Yeah.
Only
hand
flying
disruption.
pirate I like. The only flying pirate I like is Robert De Niro.
You're
Stardust.
crossing the streams.
Yep, I definitely am.
Unacceptable.
Yeah, hand disruption in this game is so much more painful than most other games.
So what do you think about Nebula, Amerikano, and Crimson? What are your guys' thoughts on her? Do you like playing against Nebula? Is Nebula something you're going to leave in the box?
I didn't enjoy playing against her, but I didn't not like her. Like, I felt her theme, her kit was well done. I think she needs to be tuned down just a teeny bit. But she's also the pet, the penultimate, the right before the last guy. So she should be a little tougher than the earlier people. Um, I, I mean, I did enjoy playing her, but I still don't think it's at, playing on standard. It should still be a little easier than what it is.
I found I enjoy her on standard if I play with easier modular sets. I'm not talking bomb scare easy, right? But if I give her goblin gimmicks or something like that, she's got no minions in her villain deck. So if you don't include a module with minions, you don't have to worry about minions at all. Or if you include one that's minion light, right? Like,
Modoc.
well, I wouldn't say that because so many things fish
Bomb
them out.
scare.
But yeah, well, no, not bomb scare. Didn't I just say not bomb scare? Something from the
So
Green Goblin expansion, right? Like Electro or Scorpion, right? Then there's only one
there's
big
just
minion in
one.
there to come out. That's
So
not
don't
so
play.
bad.
So Thor's a bad matchup for her.
Thor is probably a bad matchup for her, but the modular set has 5 minions and 2 things that fish them out. So if you're playing with her recommended module, it's probably not too bad to play Thor.
I beat her with Thor and Hulk in 2-player solo, both in aggression. And we just wrestled. Like that was that was the whole game. We didn't get rid of evasion. We didn't do anything. We just poured damage and ended it on 2B, 1 threat from losing. So that was kind of fun.
That's sounds like aggression.
I think the thing that I dislike about her is that I don't think she's beatable on standard with either of the pre-con decks that come with the box set. And I think that's kind of the fail of the whole box is on standard mode, you should be able to get close to winning the box with what's in the box.
Yeah, I think the pre-con decks are a little bit weak in this box. The characters are really fun, but that makes it a little frustrating to use those pre-con decks. I think in standard, not in campaign, having that campaign side scheme out there, what does hers do? It's something brutal. I'll find it here really quick.
Oh, hers
So the first
Man,
side doesn't do anything, but when you defeat it, it places
2 evasion.
evasion counters. But if you're playing an
Mhm.
expert, it has an acceleration and a hazard, and it places evasion counters. So I mean,
Oh.
yeah. In standard, you can just ignore the side scheme, and it's probably okay. I haven't played her
It's totally
standalone
okay.
in standard a lot, but in standard campaign, I've found that I enjoy her, but I haven't taken the precons into it yet. That's for sure.
Yeah, I avoided that. And I think that's part of because like with Red Skull, I feel like you could have taken the precons through it.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, and that lend itself to the lower difficulty level overall for Rise of the Red Skull. So I think in this case, the designers wanted something more difficult in campaign, but that was at the expense of being able to take the precons through it.
Well, here's what I would have suggested is in standard maybe not have those campaign side quests at all, and just only have those for expert, because experts were you're bringing your own deck, you're fine tuning it, all that stuff. Standard, it's casual. Like
Right.
I would, you could not pay me to play this box set in expert mode. Like it just not going to happen.
You want to go play an expert mode after this? It'll be fun.
You could definitely pay me.
If we're paying people to play expert, I'll take it.
I'll say I'm with you, Kennedy Hawk. I like the two different hooks, ship and the technique. I like the idea of both of them. I think that together it makes, for me, for a little bit frustrating of a situation, because I feel the pressure from all sides, and like I said before, I like to win. And I don't think that it's. I mean, obviously it's. There's just a lot to have to deal with that I'd rather not have to deal with. And I think for me that maybe I'm playing it wrong, but the technique cards are going to come out like every time. You're going to see them, the same ones every game, and they're going to come into play attached to her, right? Because of their boost ability, would the boost star, so the boost ability makes them attach to her, and then you activate it. But you don't discard it at that point because it wasn't her, unless I'm playing that wrong. So it triggers it the first time, and then when she activates, then you, like, the next time she activates, then you discard it. Or you choose one.
Yeah, that's correct. So if it comes up as a boost, like I'm looking at Weapon Mastery right now, it flips up, it deals 1 damage to you in addition to her activation, and then when she activates against the next player, she might discard it, but it'll resolve on the second activation.
Yeah, I just feel like because they're always going to come out, I'll probably play Nebula, periodically, but I feel like if you overplay her, you're just going to feel this. You see those same techniques over and over again. And that just seems kind of boring to me. But I haven't played enough to know if that's the case. That's just my guess.
I found the best thing to do against Nebula is to race her. So I think protection probably struggles quite a bit. Leadership might even struggle a little bit, but aggression is been pretty key, because you can't. It's really hard to play the long game against Nebula because she keeps building up those evasion counters, and at some point you're either not going to have the money to avoid the evasion counters, or Milano's going to get exhausted from something random, and then all of a sudden 4 threats going on the main scheme per phase, and it's going to pop. So you've got to be punching her constantly whenever you can. You can't fiddle fart around and sort of build up your board to the optimal set.
You're definitely fighting 2 fronts, right? Her and her ship.
Yeah, definitely.
I really enjoy that. I'll tell you something we did that's McSheedy face. My wife also plays standard only, and she likes to win just like you. So we've been playing the standard campaign, and we just each start with a target acquired in play. Clutch.
Man.
It's totally cheating, right? It's just like giving yourself 2 extra cards the first round and forcing it to be you playing target acquired. But it changes your whole mindset, because you have this one like oh crap button, and you can decide when to press it. And we've
Gives you a
found
little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit of breathing room. Still makes the game enjoyable. I think what you said
I think
earlier.
that's fine.
I think they're
fine.
finally to this point where they can give us difficult villains, and I think the reason we're there is because we've now got enough modular sets that we can determine that difficulty if we want. There's a big stigma around that, it seems like, about not using the module set that's recommended in the campaign to play the campaign, but I think by trying other modular sets, they might not be as thematic yet, but hopefully we get more space ones in the future, and we can find something that's a little bit easier to play with Nebula.
You can always add Hydra modules. It's always on theme.
Sure, yeah. Space Hydra troopers, the ones with jetpacks.
They're always up to something. We just wrapped up a 2-player Nebula game. My girlfriend and I. We got to Nebula. We were playing Protection Scarlet Witch, and Justice, Ant-Man, which is why I've been talking about Ant-Man so much tonight. And we lost. Nebula just, man, absolutely gave us a bath. And it was because we were just too slow. You know, I could keep the threat in check, but we just weren't putting out enough damage. She wasn't taking any damage because, you know, Scarlet Witch. And she just ramped up. There were turns where it was like, okay, we add 10. Okay, now we add 12, right?
Yep.
And you can't keep up with that. So we switched Scarlet Witch to aggression, and you're absolutely right. We had to put her on the clock and ignore some mechanics here and there. But target acquired was clutch. I've had it in Ant-Man for a while just because I like the card, and being able to just like stop some of these boosts prevents a lot of bad stuff from happening.
Yeah, I'd say that's like the theme for the entire campaign is run target acquired in every deck, because that is one of the ways they made this so difficult is the boost abilities are just astronomically hard.
Yeah, I think if I were going back over this for standard mode, I would make the Nebula ship only require one resource versus two, but in expert I would still have it at the two.
You mean it would take one resource for 2 evasion counters?
Right, instead
Yeah.
yeah. But all in all, I mean, I still think she's a wonderfully fun villain to play against in the right setting. Standalone, she's much better.
Yes, she's much better in standalone. I found she's easiest at 2 players. She's hardest at 1 and 4. At 1 player, it's just too much for one person to handle, and at 4 players, when 4 people get encounter cards, a lot of times at the start of the next turn, all of a sudden she'll have like 5 techniques out, and that
Yeah.
first player is just getting smashed in the face. Or she'll just be increasing the threat by so much that it's impossible to control.
It's game over. Yeah.
4 players has just been really hard with her, but I found with 2 and 3, she's kind of in that sweet spot where you've now got enough people that someone can be thwarting every turn. Once you get to 4, maybe even 3, if you draw too many of those ship cards, barrel roll, where it places like it surges and places evasion counter, all of a sudden you can no longer remove as many as she's adding, and that's when you run into trouble.
That's another thing we need to talk about. Quit putting Surge on every damn little card. It's ridiculous.
Just run more espionage. Problem solved. Start with one of
There
those
you
to
go.
play.
Easy.
Okay, well then give us more spy characters.
Yeah,
You
it's just
have Black Widow,
ridiculous,
and you like it.
I mean, I like Black Widow.
Then we're good.
And,
I guess.
Collector
and this-
doesn't like Black Widow, but well, he
This is
does.
also not the only game from Fantasy Flight where they overdo Surge. They have another LCG where it's just like, this is ridiculous. Like Surge is, it's almost like a crutch to them. And I get it. Like
It certainly makes things harder, right?
Yeah.
But
Well, what
not
Surge
the
should
fun
be
harder.
doing, what Surge should be doing is, if this card is flipped and it does nothing, it should search. Like if it has like requirements to be met, and then it does something. If those requirements aren't met, it should search because otherwise it's a free card. But the cards we're seeing are just like do a whole bunch of bad crap. Oh, and do more bad crap.
Right. I'm okay if the card says something like do this major effect or do this minor effect in Surge, because you have to like say, okay, I'm going to take the minor effect now, but it's going to be a gamble. But yeah, there is a lot of Surge. It's
Well,
I
So
think-
in Nebula, she just has a couple, right?
Yeah.
well, all her
on
the first technique each round gains Surge too, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's because like when you reveal a technique as your encounter card for the turn, assuming you're playing, you know, with one encounter card, it is kind of, it doesn't really do anything because you're past her activations. So the Surge in this case gives her a buff for next turn, and then you deal with your card for the turn still.
I would
So I
agree,
think-
but all those attachments in the core set didn't have Surge, and you could remove them before they even had like an impact, right?
Right.
So,
She
Right.
can you just have to deal with hers. Just how to take it to the face.
like if she gains Retaliate 1, it didn't do anything, but it's going to change your next turn, so it's still there.
An
But-
example would be barrel roll. So let's take barrel roll for an example. It's Insight 1 Surge and place an invasion counter on the ship. So, like, what it should say is something like, place an invasion counter on the ship if the ship has like two, 3 or less
Three or
evasion
less.
counters. If you don't, search.
Yeah, that seems cool. I'd be
Yeah.
okay with that. Or like a place 2 or surge,
Yeah, it's
and then
it's
it's still
too
inside.
much. I'm not complaining here. I'm just trying
You
to
definitely are complaining
find
here.
a way for like your new player goes to their local card shop. They pick up this box. They grab Groot. They're like, yeah, Groot, awesome. Then they play it, and then they put the box in their closet, and they say, "F that game."
Chop my Groot in half.
Yep, I'm just gonna play Groot.
They should have played Rocket.
I mean,
There's the problem. They needed more aggression. They ran green cards. That's
Okay, we went there.
yeah, there's no yellow.
against her, I guess. That's fair.
Yeah, that's true.
in campaign. The hardest thing I found about her is that first turn, because depending on what artifacts you steal from the collector in the previous scenario, you can have a really nasty starting setup, right? One of them gives an extra evasion counter, one of them deals an extra encounter card, one gives her a boost card. I had one game I was playing solo where I triggered all 3 of those. So my first turn was I got an extra encounter card, Nebula got an extra boost card, and I was playing expert, so there was a hazard symbol. So it was like triple encounter cards turn 1, she gets a technique, and she has an extra boost card. Good luck if you can survive. And
And
that
you
was
landed the biggest backflip of your life.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I'm gonna change characters and play Spider-Man. I think what I did is I got Mockingbird out. I just mulliganed until I drew her, and then it was real fun.
Or a nice shield block. I mean, just play Cap all the time. I get some guff
Yeah.
for it, but that's
Just
fine.
play
I'm gonna
good
play Cap
heroes
all the
like
time.
Hawkeye and Cap. That's what I heard. Okay. Well, we've crunched on Nebula long enough. Let's give her a grade. Attercop, what do you give Nebula on whatever scale you want to give her a grade on?
I think I'm gonna give her a B, a pretty firm B, because she's fun, she's difficult, but I think that she's difficult to a degree that's kind of discouraging to new players, having exposed her to a couple new players.
I can see that. Amerikano, what do you got?
I'll give her a C. I think that the 2 different fronts that you're fighting her on might be overwhelming, or definitely is overwhelming or can be. And I think that if someone wanted to play her for the theme, I would definitely do it. I don't know that I'm going to be the one that suggests Nebula ever. Maybe, but probably not.
Crimson,
Yeah.
what about you?
I'm at a C also. I think standard wise, she's a little too overtuned.
Well, I'm gonna be Mr. Positive and give her an A minus. I think that having played a lot of experts, I really enjoy her on standard, and that's probably unfair, right? Because it's the right difficulty level for me. I understand if it's not the right difficulty level for everybody else. The only thing I really don't like about her is how overbearing she can be on that first turn when she gets too many techniques. But I find her to be pretty enjoyable. I find that in 2 players, every time I play her, she feels a little bit different. But I do think you have to pick a modular set that tunes her to the skill level of the players at the table.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of a bummer, right? When you get this new box, you want to use the modular sets in the box. Unfortunately, probably every set except for galactic artifacts in this box is just going to make her just as hard. So
Yeah, just give her a box of toys and hope she doesn't do too bad with it, and then she still does pretty mean
still
stuff with
does
it.
pretty bad.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to Ronan. Who wants to
All
give
right.
a Ronan overview?
I'll talk about Ronan
All right.
Yeah,
give
because
me
you're
the
green
overview.
and he's green.
because he's green. Yep. So Ronan is, I don't know. His hook is he's just superior, right? Like he's just a beast. I mean, if I was gonna say any one of the cards, any of the card names that would like define his set, maybe superior tactics. Not necessarily the card ability, but just the fact that he's Kree and he just has all the tools that he needs to smash your face.
Absolutely.
He starts with toughness, even on standard. Or he has toughness. Let's see. So I'll just read his ability on his first level. Forced Interrupt. When Ronan the Accuser activates against you, give him 1 additional boost card if you control the Power Stone. That to me is pretty thematic. That's actually my favorite thing about Ronan is how he interacts with the Power Stone. In stage 2, when revealed, search the encounter deck and discard pile for cut the power and the side scheme and reveal it. And he also gets 1 additional boost card when he activates against you. And then on stage 3, he has Retaliate 1 in toughness. And when he's revealed, you get Superior Tactics, side scheme, reveal it, and he also gets 1 additional boost card if you control the Power Stone. But his stats, he starts at a 2/2, goes up to a 2/3. But if you're playing on Expert, it's obviously starts at a 2/3 and then goes up to a 3/4 base stat. Plus, if you have the Power Stone, if you control the Power Stone, he gets an additional boost card. So, like, if you thought Claw was hard, Ronan is. I mean, I know it's different,
So you
but
take the stats of the worst Rhino and the worst Ultron, you throw them together, and then you give them better encounter cards. That's what I do.
yes. So I mean, other than that, I mean, do you guys see any other themes here? It's just the theme
Overwhelming
is
numbers.
the Power Stone. Like, I mean, that's what for me, and that makes it really thematic and cool deck. Honestly, even though it's hard, I think. But let's see.
And the
I
Power
mean,
Stone, we didn't talk about it, but it gives you +1 to your attack and your thwart, I think.
Yep.
And then if the villain deals 3 damage to you while you have it attached to you, the villain steals it and attaches it to themselves. So it's going to be bouncing back and forth between the players and the villain for many chunks of the game.
yeah, and with the cards that he has, you might want him to have the Power Stone like the entire game,
One of
which
the
makes his
strategies I've seen people trying is just let him have the Power Stone and use as much little dink damage as you can to not take it from him.
right
It's going to take
because
you a
if he
really long time to kill him, but
because I mean that would make his level 3 a 4/5 essentially. But you only get 1 of the boost cards, and he has several. I think maybe only a couple, 3 boost cards.
yep.
Um,
He's the one character I feel like doesn't have like a real unique hook, right? Because Nebula already used the Power Stone. We didn't talk about it with her because it's more of a Ronin thing, but like everybody else had their like unique thing, and his unique thing is just throwing cards at you and
Yep.
seeing if you can survive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a quantity kind of thing. Like that's it. It's just superior numbers, right? That goes along
Yep.
with the tactics that Amerikano was saying.
Yeah, spoiler, you don't survive.
yeah, I was
Very
gonna say, I was gonna say, if you made it all the way through to Ronin on the campaign, and you didn't want to quit or burn your box, you might actually at this point. So I should tell you how I feel about the campaign when you get to Ronin.
So campaign Ronin's a little bit bonkers. Let's just talk about that for a minute. So he starts with cut the power in play, right? You said that.
In expert.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
an expert. Okay.
Yeah. Level
Rewind
2.
time. He doesn't start with that, but so he starts with Kree Supremacy, the side scheme from the campaign mode. If you control the Power Stone, you're going to deal you're the first player an encounter card that makes him attack you an extra time or activate against you an extra time in the first round.
Mhm.
You are going to search
fun.
for Pincer Maneuver, which is a double acceleration side scheme. Put it into play and then place extra threat on it, depending on how poorly you played against Nebula. He's getting extra threat on the main scheme in expert campaign. I mean, it's just pretty bonkers. I think it was something like if you're playing against him in expert campaign, I'm gonna make the numbers up because I don't remember exactly, but it's ballpark this. you start with like 2 extra encounter cards and 3 side schemes in play, and between that and the main scheme, there's like 22 points of threat out there just for solo expert campaign.
Yeah, I believe it. I definitely
Which-
believe it.
It's just bonkers. I've stacked my deck with Captain America, where I defeat all 3 side schemes and take the main scheme to 0, and Ronan still kills me like round 1 or 2 with a shield block in hand. It's bonkers.
Yeah.
Standalone, he's a lot more reasonable, right? Because he doesn't get the pincer maneuver. In expert, he's still getting cut the power, but he doesn't get that campaign side scheme. Which the campaign side scheme, I don't even remember what's on the standard one. I think it's just a hazard symbol. But the expert one is hinder 4 with 7 base threat. So that's 11 threat in solo or 23 threat in 4-player, and it's got an acceleration, an amplify, and a hazard symbol on it. Like, what?
Yeah, in the standard it's 6 with hinder 3 and just a
Just a casual 9 threat with a hazard symbol. No
yeah.
big deal.
Yeah.
It's actually
But-
the only standard challenge that has an icon on it. All the rest of them can be completely ignored. If you wanted to.
If you wanted to, and you probably if you want to have a chance at beating Ronan, you probably shouldn't.
No, not for Kree, no, but the other 4 beforehand, they don't do anything extra except sit there and maybe offer you money.
Right.
Yeah.
Which this one does too. Like, why does Kree Supremacy have victory 1 on it?
Maybe it's future proofing. It could just be templating. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
It's a good question.
Just white it out, Attercop.
I got it. I'm already on it.
Okay.
He
Alright.
starts with his universal weapon in play, which boosts his stats as well, right? So in expert, if he has the power stone, he's sitting in expert phase 2 with his weapon out. He's sitting at a 4-5 in the first phase. The hardest card for me, the one that people really need to plan around, is fanaticism. So it's an
Oh, surge
attachment
card?
with
Is that what
with
you're telling
Prim's favorite word, surge. And that's because it doesn't do anything right away, like Attercop taught us. It just gives him a passive +1 attack. And it has uses on it, so you know it's going to discard itself for you. That's nice. It's 1 + 1 per player, so in 4-player that would be 5 counters on it. And whenever he attacks, the attack gains overkill and piercing, and then at the end of the attack, you discard a counter. So allies no longer block you from Ronan smashing your face. Tough no longer blocks you. It's pretty crazy. So you have to plan for fanaticism, and I don't know if the answer is just run Black Widow ally and hope you can cancel it, or just keep scooping until he doesn't draw it in that opening turn,
Or quit.
or quit. I know there's a couple tricks you can do with fanaticism. So fanaticism gives him piercing and overkill. So if you play Muster Courage in protection, or if you're playing Doctor Strange, if you put tough on an ally, and you don't even have to put tough on the ally. If you put tough on yourself, the way piercing works is the character that's defending against the attack, or that is like targeted by the attack, is the one that has the tough status removed. So if you put tough on yourself and chump block with an ally, you're going to be able to block all the overkill damage.
What?
But then you have to run Doctor Strange or protection with Muster Courage, which
Right.
neither of
That's
which seems ideal.
That's a lot of cards to stop 1 card. That is actually going to be 2 cards every time.
Oh man.
So and anybody that can put tough on themselves could do that with allies, right? So Spider Woman can do that with what's it called?
Ready for action?
A leadership one?
No, containment immunity. Her protection.
Oh, yeah.
Like
yeah,
heals her
protection.
and puts a tough on her. So stopping fanaticism is just you have to do it, but it's if he gets fanaticism and you don't have an answer to it, you're pretty much losing. You're sacrificing a player at that point.
Yeah.
And that's pretty brutal. There's no way to discard it other than just soaking attacks. So you're gonna have to soak them at the right time. So there's that, and then the other thing that I've used to successfully stop fanaticism is Mockingbird. So Hawkeye's signature ally. When the villain initiates an attack against you, you can spend any resource to bounce her to your hand, and you prevent all the damage. So Hawkeye can just soak 1 fanaticism counter around by spending 2 turns playing Mockingbird over and over again and getting nothing else done.
Finally. Hawkeye's good at something.
Finally, Hawkeye's good at something. I know, it's true.
And it's
I mean,
and it's not
he
even
only has
Hawkeye.
9 health, so then Ronan attacks him one more time and he dies.
Yeah.
Have you beaten Ronan with Hawk?
I've beaten Ronan with Hawkeye in standalone solo. So he didn't have the campaign side scheme out, and he didn't start with the extra attack card.
It was standard.
Standard standalone solo. And in multiplayer, we've beaten him in the standard campaign, but it was not because of Hawkeye. It was more because like the other players were playing Doctor Strange and Captain America and Captain Marvel.
When you have to play S tier heroes.
Yeah, like Hawkeye, exactly.
Exactly.
And S tier heroes and the fourth guy. I'm kind of okay with that. Obviously, like I read a lot of comics, right? I don't think that anybody should be able to walk into Ronan's room and say, "Hey, I'm here to kick your ass 1-on-1." I like being able to dig for the powerful decks to tangle with somebody like Ronan. So that's at least a bit satisfying, unless I'm completely delusional and just trying to justify the 15 losses in a row that he handed me the first time I tried to beat him.
Well, we haven't gotten there with the Hulks yet, but are you excited for that or what?
I'm always excited. That Hulk deck is my baby right now. Like I just want to play everything with it.
There you go.
So I'm gonna send him out of the
You heard it
airlock.
first. You will never hear so much Hulk love as you do on this podcast.
It's
Dude,
true.
I'm all about it right now.
Hulk is love.
It's so much fun.
Green hearts.
But not green hearts for Ronan is my guess.
No, certainly not. Blue hearts.
I actually no. I'll wait to give.
Does
my
anybody
thoughts
else
on
have
it.
any other comments on Ronan? So again, he has no minions in his villain deck. So if you don't want to include the Kree militants, which are
Kree
just
Milit- yeah, we didn't
painfully
talk about that.
sound,
Yep.
then you can just put Bomb Scare in there and hope you draw Hydra Bombers instead of Fanaticism. Just boost Fanaticism every time, and you're good to go.
That's it.
Yeah, Kree militants. We talked about them before, right? No, we didn't.
No, we did not yet. No.
They're pretty rough too. It falls in line with the rest of his kit, right? You got
They're rough.
like
They all have high health, right? 5, 6,
health.
7. They've got Overkill and Quick Strike and Patrol. I
Yeah,
guess they
they're
don't have
huge.
Overkill.
They might
they
as
have
well.
like
Just throw
Stalwart and Guard,
Stalwart, yeah.
the Kree Lieutenant.
But their stats are really low, right? Like I was really terrified that like Kree Lieutenant was going to come out and be like a 3/3 minion with Guard and Stalwart, but he's a 2/1. So I mean, you don't want to ignore him. I mean, you can't because he has Guard and Stalwart. But
Yep.
at least he's not just piling on the damage while things go bad. I don't know if have you ever drawn Shadows of the Past with Quicksilver before?
I've never played Quicksilver, to be honest.
Okay. Well, it's like the most feel bad thing ever. His Nemesis minion has Insight 2. His Nemesis side scheme has Insight 1. And his Nemesis minion does AoE damage on reveal to the entire table. So like he comes out, he basically throws 3 threat on the main scheme, he puts a Crisis side scheme into play, and he hits you for damage. And he hasn't even activated yet. That's kind of
Why
what
was that?
Ronan feels
Why
like.
was that? Who decided that was a good idea?
Is it an avalanche of abilities?
It's an
Oh.
I feel like I'm being buried by an avalanche. Precisely. All right, well let's grade Ronan over here. Let's see what people think. We'll go in the same order. Attercop.
Ooh. Oh man.
Who's gonna go the lowest? Here's the question.
I'm gonna give him a C because his standalone is really interesting. I enjoy playing his standalone quite a bit. But kind of the same thing. Like I think the difficulty can be very discouraging, especially for new players in campaign.
Is that me?
That's on to you. Yep.
Okay. I will give him a B for standalone, and you don't want to know my grade for the campaign.
Remember when people said this game was too easy, and then Ronan showed up and was like, "Hold my space beer."
My grade for the campaign is burn him, but I won't do that because I do think standalone. I'll probably keep playing him into the future. I like how he interacts with the Power Stone. Yeah, I mean, as hard as he is, but I think that's okay because he's the last in the box. He's, he's a Kree, superior race. So I'm okay with it, even if I do lose.
All right, Crimson. What are your thoughts? Crimson left us. He hates Ronan that much.
He's had to go outside and cool off.
Yeah, he's like,
I get it. I get it. I do want to add one thing for people who are attempting Ronan. Get rid of his weapon as soon as possible. Like, if you want to beat Ronan, one of the ways to do it is to out-action him. In solo, you can try to stun lock him. But you can't do that if he's stalwart. So if you're playing solo and you intend to stun him, just take the encounter card, put the weapon
That's
back
another
in.
reason you need target acquired, because you take the encounter card and damage, and you shuffle that thing back in the deck. So
That's
it's
a
probably
hot tip.
coming out as a boost.
and if he's stunned and Stalwart comes out, the stun gets discarded, right?
It does, and it feels
Yep.
real bad.
Oh, yeah. Maybe
But-
can I lower my grade?
I mean, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, target acquired plays pretty hard against Ronan, but that's kind of what you said is like it's the star icons in this entire campaign. It slows down You Stand Accused, it slows down Single Minded Fury, and the Hammer most importantly.
Yeah. I'm gonna give him a B in standalone. I think he's pretty fun in standalone. I mean, he's definitely gonna be challenging, right? I'm not gonna be taking my bad decks and my like crazy combo decks up against Ronan, even in standalone. But in campaign, I just like him pretty greatly, so I'd probably give him a C or a D. If I ever play this campaign a ton in the future, I'm just gonna pretend it's a 4-villain campaign and stop after Nebula. I've rescued the Power Stone. It's over. But in standalone, I think he can be fine. I don't think he's going to be one that I pull out playing solo very much. From the box, I'll probably pull out Drang and Nebula quite a bit, and the other 3 are going to be more either reserved for the campaign or reserved for the binder.
I think if I want a fast like pick up and have fun game, I'll grab Drang or Nebula too. Ronan, I think I have to be in the right mindset.
Yeah, you have to make sure everybody at the table is prepared for what the night's going to be. Our local play group's going to have their first Champions Night in a while because everybody's vaccinated, and
Oh, cool.
the other people haven't played Galaxy's Most Wanted yet. So I'm
Uh-oh.
pretty excited because they've always wanted the game to be a lot harder to see the reaction that happens because
Welcome
they all
back to
play
the
Arkham and
regular
Lord of the
world.
Rings, right? So they know about surges that are surges, and it'll be interesting.
Oh, that's good. So they're accustomed to difficulty
They're ready
spikes
for
here and there.
depression. Yes.
They're ready for depression. I think is that a tagline to the Lord of the Rings, the card game.
I think so. It's like right there on the box.
Yeah, that's cool. They put it there.
Do you want to feel defeated every day? Play
The
Lord of the
bold take
Rings.
by
Win
marketing that.
sometimes.
Win sometimes or maybe never.
Win sometimes. Or play Ronan.
Do you know how to play this game? No, you don't. You're dead.
All right. Well, that's everything in the box. So I want to ask one more question. So, which box do you like better? Galaxy's Most Wanted or Rise of Red Skull?
Ooh.
Can you
I'll
guess
go
my
first.
answer?
I'm gonna say Rise of Red Skull because Hawkeye's in it, but no, I won't really say that. Yeah, we'll go with you first. I'm gonna guess that you're gonna say Rise of Red Skull.
Yeah, it's Rise of Red Skull. I think I like the heroes better in this box. But overall, I think I like Rise of Red Skull. This one was just the campaign's just too hard. The idea behind this, I put it this way to a friend. The difficulty level even for standard in this box, it's way more than we've had for anything previously. And when Fantasy Flight touts this game as like an entry level LCG, if there's such a thing, or like you can pick up and play. I mean, they sell the hero packs with pre-constructed decks for a reason, right? Those pre-constructed decks aren't going to be able to defeat this campaign. I don't think even on standard. Like that to me, and maybe some like you can make some tweaks here or there, but I'm sure there are players out there, maybe no one that listens to this podcast, that don't make any tweaks. They just throw the other cards in the back of each pack into their box. They don't do any deck building, and that's a completely legitimate way to play this game and tell this campaign. Like it's not a legit way to win this campaign. It's just not, in my opinion. And that to me is unfortunate because that's how it's been. And that's the whole like gimmick or part of the whole thing behind the game is, hey, look, it's a pre-constructed deck. Go for it. So that's my biggest beef with it. So I definitely think Rise of Red Skull, for me, is a better box.
What about you, Attercop?
I would pick Rise of the Red Skull 2, based on content. Obviously, like I'm a big Captain America fan, so I get all these I get 5 Cap villains in a row. Mechanically, Galaxy Most Wanted does a lot of really interesting things, but I think that the difficulty kind of skews a lot of mechanics, and it's like Amerikano said, you should be able to unload the box and just kind of play it as it is, or the whole pick up and play mentality also translates to bringing a new player in and showing the ropes, and not getting launched into space by Ronan's hammer. But I think Red Skull allowed for that more often in both the solo and campaign levels. So I guess just because it's more friendly and it's Captain America villains. Oh, and I guess it brought a Hawkeye.
Yeah, I think for the villains, I prefer Captain America for sure. At the same time, I think at the end of the day, from Captain America's box, there's like 2 to 3 villains I really enjoy in standalone, and I think from Galaxy's Most Wanted, there's 2 to 3 villains that I'll enjoy in standalone. So I think that standalone wise, I'm at the same number of villains I'm gaining that I'm gonna like want to pull out of the box every night and play. But the campaign, like I've run the Red Skull campaign many times, and I know it's easy and like you can make mistakes and all sorts of things and still enjoy it. But that's what I like about it. So I enjoy the campaign in Red Skull quite a bit more, especially when I'm playing with casual or more standard people. I like the heroes in Red Skull better, but that's kind of an unfair question. So I'm not going to count that against them. But I think the module sets in Galaxy's Most Wanted, they're quite a bit harder, but they're a lot more enjoyable than the modules in Red Skull. I feel like the modules in Red Skull, for the most part, are pretty generic, more Hydra things, and these ones are pretty generic too, right? We didn't get any like named Kree soldiers or any named Badoon people.
No.
But at the same time, we got the sharks with laser beams on their heads, and we got galactic artifacts, which is completely different. And I really enjoy the Badoon Headhunter. I actually played a Red Skull campaign the other day where I used Badoon Headhunter the same way. And if I beat him in one scenario, I gave him the extra card in the next one, and it was super fun. Like I find the way he like scales up to be really cool. But at the end of the day, I'm still gonna say Red Skull. I think just because Hawkeye. So
Yeah,
arrows.
Oh, go ahead.
I did not enjoy very little experience I had with Ronan. I did not really enjoy this box. That's what it really came down to. I just really did not enjoy this box. And I don't know if it's the theme or the fact that it's galactic enemies and I'm an X-Men guy. I don't, I just, it wasn't what I needed or wanted or enjoyed.
What are you gonna do if the X-Men box is this hard? Will you enjoy it?
Yeah, because it's X-Men and I don't care.
I just
Straightforward.
wanted to check.
That was like no hesitation at all.
Yep. I will take my beatings. It has mutants.
Yep.
Spoken like a true fan. I like it.
There's our very negative episode of.
Let's go back and talk about Hulk next.
Yeah.
I love Hulk, man.
Put me in,
I'm a Hulk
coach.
fan.
Well, I think we're gonna talk about the upcoming hero packs in the next episode. And then after that, people have been asking us to do our smash up decks again. So I think using the card pool all the way through Star-Lord and Gamora's pack in 2 episodes, we'll do our smash up decks again. But now there's enough cards that we can make 2 decks per aspect with like 1 play set of cards. So we're going to try to have 8 decks in a format where we spend 5 minutes talking about each deck. And we'll hopefully be able to give you decks that you can plug and play with many different heroes, including Hulk and the heroes from Galaxy's Most Wanted.
Oh man,
So
that's already really exciting because I have like a baby archetype that I'd like to try out in that way.
you're ready already. There we go.
I am ready.
All right, we'll do it right now. Okay.
Oh,
No, just kidding. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks for tuning in. Keep grinding against Ronan. If you beat him, let us know. Send us a picture. And if you are defeated, send the Critical Encounters crew a picture. I'm sure they'll enjoy that too. So it'll work out.
send somebody a picture, whatever happens.
If
Yeah,
you
send
win, we
someone a
know
picture. Make us know you're there. Okay,
because we want to know your tips.
we need them.